Hello everyone, I go by the name Enock Fernandez, currently working as an Android developer at Walt Disney company. Today's presentation is going to be a beginner's guide to Android application development with Kotlin. The main goal of this presentation is to help folks that are yet to venture into the world of programming, mobile development to be specific, to give them the boost to do so. And also for the folks that are already into programming, also give them the urge to do more. And I hope at the end of the presentation, this main goal will be able to be achieved. Also, I know programming presentations could get quite heavy, so I'm going to try my best to keep it fun, concise, and also light. So where do we move from here? Let's do a bit of a history on Android. Okay, so most of you may already know that Android is owned by Google, but what most people also don't know was Android wasn't actually created by Google. It was acquired by Google in 2005. The founders, as written on the screen, mainly created Android for digital cameras to begin with, and was later acquired by Google. The funny thing is, on the surface, everybody knew Android came to change the world of mobile applications and just to give people more power to do more with their phones. But one gentleman, Tim Bray, who wrote a blog on the reason why Google actually acquired Android, he was also one of the pioneers to work with the Android applications from the beginning. And he actually came out, I mean, it wasn't like it was more like a secret to him at that time, also to us. He came out to say, when he went for his interview, and he asked the interviewer why Android, why are they working on Android? And the interviewer was honest to him and said, whether it may or may not be true, that from what he is saying, the interviewer actually told him they had to catch up with Apple, because Apple was at that moment working on their first iOS, and they saw this market change that was going to be evident if Apple came into the mobile, and then took over the whole mobile applications with no competition, and Apple was going to have total control over everything, and they didn't want that. So this was mainly a catch and chase for Android, and I think that is something interesting. Maybe you would also like to know. Okay, so the versions of Android and where they've gotten so far since they started. In 2008, that was when the first Android was released, and from there it's been 10 years and running, and over 10 years now. Mainly Android had this special naming convention whereby they named their versions with sweets and desserts. The reason to why nobody knows. So, for example, Android 1.5 was called Cupcake, and then in comparison to iOS was very simple. iOS 1, we had iOS 2, we had iOS 3, now we have iOS 11, we have iOS 12. But Android wanted to keep it more interesting. So running through, and we are here now in 2020. And the funny thing is, at a point in 2018, if you look at Android 9, which was called Android Pie, was the last time we gave it a dessert name or a sweet name. from there, in 2019, Android 10 was released and was called Android Q. Q, we don't know what it meant. And then in 2020, currently we have Android 11 running, and is running on most of these latest phones like OnePlus 8T Pro, on the new Samsung Galaxies, and also on the new Google Pixels, where you could also play with the new Android versions. Where to start? Let's get into the real deal. Where to start? So someone might be wondering, I want to develop Android applications. I want to develop an app on my phone. Where do I start? And a couple of things you need to know. So the program you're going to be using in development is called Android Studio. You may have heard of other programs like Eclipse, WebStorm. Those programs can also be used in developing Android applications, but the ones that are recommended by Google itself and working with Google on the Android applications is Android Studio, and that is the standard where every company, and that is what every company uses. You will certainly need a laptop, and with these minimum specifications, I think would help you run your Android smoothly. As written in the presentation, you need a laptop with a minimum of 8 gig RAM, recommended obviously, no, a minimum of 4 gig RAM, recommended 8 gig RAM. Your disk space should be 2 gig, minimum 4 gig recommended. I think now with the new computers, they do have fast processors, so I would say anything with a multiple core i5, i7, i9 should be enough. Also a very good resolution for you to be able to see every pixel very well, because you'll be working with a lot of designing and stuff like that, right? What language do you need to learn? So this is what I want you to take from programming. Programming is just like a language that you go to another country that you need to learn. So you pick up, you enter into this world whereby you build mobile applications. What you need to do to build a mobile application is you need to learn the language of the mobile application. So the language of Android is Kotlin currently, as the first language to go to as of now for programming Android applications. It used to be Java and still can be Java if you want to use Java, but what is more now used as standard now in the market is Kotlin, and is built on is based on Java and makes it is more simple than Java. So if you are familiar with Java, don't be scared to jump into Kotlin. It's really simple to transition. So what I also wanted to emphasize on is, when you start with Kotlin, when you start with any programming language, it's going to be slow. So don't be worried if you are not catching it at the first pace. Just like any language, you grow with it. So at this time, we are going to work on an app called CodeMe that I built for this session. And I believe what we are going to do, I'm going to show you the Android Studio. That is the platform, the environment for writing your programs in. And also I'm going to also show the Kotlin program, the language that was used, and run through it. And then I hope you follow. I'm going to also upload my project in a code base. I'm going to upload my project in GitLab, so you could easily find it and download it, and then also follow the presentation and also check the codes out as you learn. What is CodeMe about? CodeMe app is mainly an app whereby we have a list of quotes. These quotes are categorized into different parts: the laugh quotes, the wise quotes, and also the jokes. So quote me, I'm gonna show you. Let me quickly pull it up. Let's see, where do we have it? Where do we have quote me? So quote me, let's see. Boom. So this is the app called Quote Me, and this is the app that we'll be building today. And on the first page, we have the home page, whereby it says you could click and say, tell me a joke, tell me a laugh story, tell me a quote. And when you click on it, let's see. So let's say we want to hear a joke today. We click on tell me a joke, and then boom, a joke appears. So what do we have here? It says, I hope everybody could see, or should I zoom in? Let me see if I could zoom in a bit. Can I zoom in? No, I think that is how big I could get it. Okay, that is how big I could get it. Okay, so what joke do we have? It says you can only get spoiled milk from a pampered cow. Okay, I thought that was funny. Okay, let's go back. Let's see, tell us another joke. Okay, now it got bigger. Okay, it got bigger now. Let me see if I could make it. Yes, okay. Tell me another joke. Oh, who wants to hear a laugh story? I mean, I think there's some laugh birds in the audience. So let's hear a laugh story. Boom. Okay, about laugh. Come live in my hut and pay no rent. Wow. Okay, that sounds deep. I don't know who would want to leave somewhere without receiving rent, but it looks like the person is madly in love. Anyways, so that was let's see. Tell me another joke. I want to hear another joke. I want to hear. Oh, I got a thing small again. Sorry. I want to hear another joke. Right? Who wants to hear another joke? Yes. Boom. Okay. I have it big now. Oh no. Sorry. My fault. Let's open the app again. Quotes me up. Now let's just leave it. Let's not make it big or small. I want to hear another joke. Boom. Okay. Let's see. What does this say? If we shouldn't eat at night, why do they put a light in the fridge? Okay. I mean, they put a light in the fridge so you could eat, I guess. Okay. So that is the first part, and then we have all quotes, which gives you all quotes of every story that we have that is categorized into wise. But we didn't go for a wise saying. Okay, let's see. Tell me a quote, which is a wise quote, I guess. We are what we believe we are. I mean, I think that is pretty wise. And bear with me with a design. I'm not a designer, so I guess my choice of colors didn't blend well. If you cannot see from your screen, I'm really sorry about that. I tried to zoom in, but it's not really helping, I guess. But okay, cool. So no. Okay, so this is the app that we are going to go through and build. So I hope you stay tuned and enjoy. The code is going to get a bit we're going to get our hands dirty now, so let's get right into it. So let us dive right into it. We will be creating today the Quote Me app. What this Quote Me app does basically is it has a list of quotes, whereby we have categorized these quotes into three forms. The first one is tell me a joke. Second one is basically tell me a laugh quote, and the third one is basically tell me just any random wise quote, or we would say a philosophical quote. Let me bring up the app so it is much more clear with explanation. Yes, so I hope everyone could see it. Boom. So this is basically the Quote Me app. What does this app do? That is a few seconds ago I did explain. So we'll just dive right into navigating through the app. We could see we have what we call at the bottom, where you could navigate between the Quote Me and the all quotes. On the first page, which is the quotes me, we have 3 categories, as I said before. Tell me a joke. So let's say we want to hear a joke today. Okay, what joke do we have? We shouldn't eat at night. So why do they put lights in the fridge? That is that was a subtle joke. That was a nice one. We wouldn't take it away from them. So secondly, let's say we want to hear a laugh quote. You wake up in the morning and go like, hey, maybe I want to tell my girlfriend something. Give me a laugh quote, right? Boom. Okay. I know I am in love with you because my reality is finally better than my dreams. That is deep. That is deep. I mean, that is if your dreams are all nightmares, I don't know what kind of reality would it be better than that. But anyways, it's a laugh quote. Just throwing that out there. So let's say we wanna just a normal quote. You wanna impress your friends with a quote today, right? You just say collect a quote. Tell me a quote, right? Boom. A wise quote. When we lose one blessing, another is often most unexpectedly given in its place. So that was really something good to start your day with. So basically, this is the first page. What the all quotes mean, I think from the name, when you click on that, gives you every quote in the system, all the jokes, all the laugh quotes. And maybe if you don't want to be clicking and you just want to one day just sit down and read through all the quotes that are being provided to you by the system, you could basically do that by just scrolling through. Okay, so this is basically the app that we are going to build. I would say you could just take notes if you wish, but I would say just concentrate. I mean, the presentation is going to be available for everyone, and I'm also going to put a project, the code base in GitLab, so everyone could go and download it and then follow again. So we'll get right into getting our hands dirty and then programming now, and I hope you all are ready for this. So starting off, we are going to get right into the code, and if you could see my screen, everybody, we have the main activity. I'm just going to run through quickly how we came by this. So this is the Android Studio environment that I was talking about. This is where we build the mobile applications for Android. So to create a project like this, right, you could go to File, go to New Project, and then we have a couple of templates already provided by Google that you could use. And we went for the empty activity because we would be building everything from scratch. And basically that is you click next, and then you could put in the name of your application. In my case, I put in my codes app. And we have the package name that just tells you how the name of your app is going to be with a path. We also have the location where you could find this. We are going to use the Kotlin language that I spoke about before. And we have the minimum SDK. So the minimum SDK, if you remember the history of the versions of Android that we spoke about earlier, this is going to show you basically the minimum version that your app should work on. And we chose API 23, and that is Android version 6. So anything from Android version 6 and above, this app is going to work on. And then you click finish. But we already have created this, so we are not going to click finish. We are going to cancel it, and then we go right into it. On the left, you could see a couple of folders. Let me close them so it doesn't get confusing. We have the main app. We have the manifest. So the manifest basically is where you have the settings of your Android program, right? The settings in the sense of the name of the Android program that we have over here. That is the label. The name of that is your app. We have the icon. That is the icon that is going to represent your app when you download it from the App Store. The theme basically tells you, okay, this app is going to have a theme of maybe a reddish theme or a bluish theme. So you're going to have that feel of blue in the app, or whatever color you choose, right? I'll run through this very quickly, sorry, because of the time factor, so you could ask questions. So really pay attention. Also, one thing I want to put out there is the program is based on the English language, right? So every term that I use, try and make a meaning out of it. Some of them are going to be confusing because these are terms we use in the code environment or in the software development environment. You're going to get familiar with it as you go on, and I think people have already started programming, already know some of these terms already. With that being said, we move on to the next Java folder. This is where we have all the files for programming the app in. The test, wouldn't talk about the test today, but then just a summary of what the test folder has. It has basically where you put in code that is going to test parts of your program. So let's say you program something and you are not sure of it, or even you are sure of it but you want to really test and make like this thing is really working before you publish it or before you deploy it, right? You write test for it. So let's say you write in a program that says 1 + 1 is 2. You are intentionally going to put in the answer 3 to make sure and test it, and then if it fails, you know that your program is working because you put in 3 in the test and it failed, right? So if the test passes and says 1 + 1 is 3, then you know there's something wrong with your test, but we are not going to get into that. We have you see just above the resource folder, we have Java. It's called generated, which means it's generated by the program. You don't need to touch that. We have the resource. So the resource folder is where we put in all the extras for building this app. That is the images that we need to use. The layout, basically layout is going to be what we use in designing the app, right? You want to see maybe a text, we use the layout. We're going to put in a file to design. We have the menu. The menu is basically going to be where you put in your bottom navigation. Map is where you see the logos of your app. Values are where we have the extra things like the colors, the strings, the styles. Colors, as I said, you could put any color here, black, white, and you could use it later for your styles. That is, the style is what we use for the theme. If you remember when I said theme, when we saw in the manifest folder. Strings is where we put in every string that you want to use in the app. You could call the app name and it's going to give you my quotes me app, right? So let's get right into it and let's get our hands dirty. Now, main activity is just a window whereby is provided by the Android program for building your app, right? So it's a space provided for you for building your app. Also get familiar with this term fragment. Fragment is going to be also a space given to you in your main activity. Fragment is a space given to you in your main activity in building. Is like for building your app, right? So having building blocks in this fragment space. So you could have multiple fragments in one main activity, and you could have one fragment in one main activity filling the whole space, right? So we'll be using fragments a lot. We go right into the XML. So this XML, if you remember, I said that is what we use in designing the app, and that is for the main activity. So what do we want to see in the main activity? We want to see a bottom navigation. We want to see a bottom navigation first. Bottom navigation. Okay, I think it's out of the window. Let me close this a bit. Can everybody see it? Okay. We give it a 0 dp. That means take the space available in the window. For the height, we give it a wrap content. What a wrap content says, take the height of what I give you, right? Not what is available in the window, but what I give you. And we're gonna give it a height very soon. It's gonna take the height of whatever format we are gonna give it very soon. And we are gonna have one very important thing is you have an ID. That's an identifier for this, so we could recognize it later when we want to use it. So Nav View, right? Nav View. And then what do we have here? we make sure we put in the background of how it's going to look like. So background, we give it a, let's give it this background. Let me copy paste it here. We'll give it this background. Boom. And then for the constraint layout is basically, that is what you see over here, is we could tell any view inside a constraint layout to lay yourself out in a position of the window. So put yourself on the right, put yourself on the left, put yourself on the top, right? And that is what we are going to do. So we are going to say constrain yourself to the bottom, because of course we want to see the navigation at the bottom and nowhere else. So constrain yourself at the bottom of the parent. Constrain yourself to the start of the parent. Constrain yourself to the end of the parent. Yes. And then the last thing we'll add is going to be the items for it to show, and that is going to be the menu. Boom. Yes. Okay, so we have that, but then also, you know, we need to draw on top of this navigation, and then what we are going to do is create a framework, a frame layout. Basically, a frame layout means any layout that you could put something in, but only one thing, you could only put one thing in. So we're gonna match it to parent. We want the width to fill the whole parent. We want the height to take the space available. Let's let the height take the space available, right? So what is the space available? Let the height take the space available. And then, so anytime we say 0 dp, it means take the space available in the window that you're given, right? And then we also do some constraints, right? Constraints to start of parent and to end of parent. And then we constrain to the top of the parent. Yes. So, and then we remember we need to put an ID. So an ID that will be the main container. That is where we'll be putting in, boom, main container. We'll be putting in our design on top of, because if you remember, let me pull this up, right? You know, on top here where we have the image, we have it on top of the bottom navigation. So that is where we put, that is called the main container, right? So boom, we go back to main activity right here. I open a lot of files, let me close it. And in the main activity now, what are we going to do? We are going to just follow me on this. Is going to be, we're going to dive right deep into it now. So follow me on this, right? So let's start with naming. We're going to do this, right? The nav view. What is the nav view? The nav view is basically we want to fetch the bottom navigation, right? So we fetch it quickly and say, okay, bottom navigation. What was, remember this, what was the ID for the bottom navigation? Let's look at it again. Click on this. The ID for the bottom navigation was nav view, right? Nav view, right? So what we could do is we could find the nav view by saying, nav view is equal to find view by ID, give me the nav view. That is one way of doing it, nav view. So which means the nav view, what does it, is complaining about something. So we need to know what it's complaining about. So it's complaining that it needs to be a bottom navigation. We could either add it here, boom, and then the complaint goes away. And then when we click on the bottom navigation, it needs to show something. How do we do that? We say the Nav View dot, a lot of things come up, but you say set on navigation selected listener. Set on navigation selected listener. Yes, on navigation selected listener. And then we are going to put in the navigation listener here, right? Let me type this here, right? And I'm going to show you, let me see. Let me type this here. Bottom navigation listener, right? So this is what we are going to use to listen when someone clicks on it. But we've not, why is it showing red? Because we've not created it yet. So we would create it right away. And we create a function by saying private val bottom navigation listener will be equal to the bottom navigation view dot on navigation item selected. On navigation item selected. Navigation item selected. And then we say when, right? When the item, wait, so what we could also do here is put in, let me make this big a bit, put in the item, and put in the item here as well. And we say when the item dot id dot item id when is equals to navigation home, right? If it's equal to navigation home, we will do something, right? We will do something if it's equal to navigation home. Don't worry about the errors now. We'll fix that. And we'll say if is equal to navigation all quotes, we will do something as well, right? We will do something as well. What do we want to do? We want to open the first fragment, that is where we are going to have the different logos, right? So hold on, boom, boom, boom. We need to create, okay, but even before we even go into this, right? Let me take this out so I could show everyone where we have what we have done so far with the app. Let me take this out. Let me take this out. Wait, I know what to do. Let's see what we've done so far with that. Take this one and then take this one, boom, and let's run the app. So far, let's see what we have. What do we have so far on the app? What do we have so far on the app? This is not the app we are building. This one that is already built. Boom, we have this on the app. We have the navigation because we created it, right? So the next thing we are going to do is when we click on it, something has to open, right? What has to open? We need to create a fragment. So here we are going to create the home fragment. We will create 16. Because of time factor, I'm going to be moving in very quick. So we say create a home fragment. Blank fragment. We're going to call it the home fragment. Boom. And then finish. Now it gives you a template, right? It gives you a template as always, and I'll explain through it what it does. But we also need to create today I think because of the time factor, I'm just going to leave it, and then we create just the home fragment. Okay, so I could get time to explain. And then we're also going to create the, when we click on, remember on the app, when we click on, let's say, tell me a joke, it opens up the joke. So that is going to be the story detail fragment. We're going to create the story detail fragments. How do we create that? We're gonna boom, also create it here, story detail fragments. We go for the empty blank. Story detail fragment. Boom. We have that created as well. And then we'll work on the, okay, so basically with a fragment, this is how a fragment looks like. We have the onCreate view, and this just tells you these are the formats that you should be familiar with, right? So we have onCreate view that shows like, okay, now we are creating, with every fragment it has a layout. Every fragment has a layout. Every where we program it, we have a layout where we do the design. Always remember that. So this is the layout. It has the fragment home, and basically when we go to split, what do we want to do in the fragment home? Basically in the fragment home, we want to have, that is where we create our buttons, right? So we're gonna take this out and then put in a constraint layout. We put, let me copy paste because I have the code already here, but you're going to type this out when time is due. No. Yes, so we need to close it. Take this one out. And then we need to create 3 buttons. Remember, we have 3 buttons over there. So we're going to create the first button. And the first button we're going to say is a match parent wrap content, right? That is the first button. We close it. Second button, we're going to say is a match parent wrap content. We need 3 buttons, if you remember that. And then we close it. And then a third button is also a wrap, a match parent, fill the space available, and then a wrap content, and then we close it. Always remember we need to give IDs to this. So this is going to be the tell me a joke. Tell me a joke. Tell me a joke button. The next one is going to be the tell me a love story quote, and the next one is going to be the tell me a wise quote. Tell me a wise quote, if you remember that, right? Since it's in a constraint layout, remember we need to position these views or these buttons. And then what are we going to do? We're going to say, okay, position yourself in the middle, right? Position yourself in the middle. And then how we're going to do that is we are going to use something called a vertical chain. Some of these are going to be confusing to you now, but later when you just run through it, you could do a search on what a vertical chain is. Vertical chain, right? Vertical chain start part. And then we're gonna have constraint. We're gonna position it in the middle, right? So we're gonna have constraint bottom to top, to top of the lav quotes, because we want it to be on top of the lav quotes, and then the end to end of parent, end to end of parent starts to start off of parents, right? And then top to top of parents. We're going to repeat the same for the other two, so I'm going to copy paste it because of the time factor. Boom. Also do the same for the last one. Boom, and you can see it shifts right to the middle. Now we need to give it some colors, right? We need to give it some colors and text. So what we could do for the first one is write a text. The text is going to be text, tell me a joke, right? Tell me a joke. And then the other one is going to be tell me a love story. We're going to put a text right in there. The other one is going to be tell me a quote. We need to put in some colors as well. So we're going to put in the text color and then also the background color for all of them. So the first one, we want it to be blue. So we're going to put in these two lines, making it blue and the text color white. The other one, we want it to be red. We're going to put in red, making it red. If you can see, I put it right here. And the other one, we're going to put in purple, making it purple. So yes, this is going to be for the home fragment, right? So for the home fragment, what we could remember about this home fragment is these ones are unnecessary. Let's not concentrate on this. We'll take this off. We're going to take this off to make it simpler to understand, so we don't get anyone confused. I guess everyone is confused now, but let's try our best to follow. So take also this one off. Apply, not needed. Take these ones off, right? Making it very simple, very, very simple. Take these ones off, right? So we are only left with these on the screen, just this on the screen, the whole screen. This is what we have. Now on create, we have a method called on view created. So on view created lets you know when the view is already created. And what we want to do is when we click on any of these buttons, we want it to open a story for us, right? So we're going to do that. So the first button was called tell me a joke. So you find the ID, always remember the ID, and we put what we call a click listener, right? A click listener. Click listener, right? Instead of click listen on it. We do the same for tell me a laugh quote, a click listener. So as I said, listen to the language means you're going to click on it and then tell me a wise quote, a click listener also. And then how do we make sure when we click on it this opens? we need to make sure we have data. So we're going to go create the data for our jokes and for our laugh codes, right? So what we're going to do is create. I already have it here, so because of time factor again, I'm going to copy paste it. So it's going to be called my story data, right? So we're going to create a Kotlin class objects, no, a Kotlin class called my story data. Boom, my story data. So what does my story data do? My story data is going to have the data that we need. Sorry. Oh no, I need to make it big for you. Okay, my story data class, my story data takes in, what do we need? We need an ID, an int tells you is a number. We need the story, and it's a string. We need the type, and it's a string. Now we populate the class object that we have. List of story data, right? And basically in the production app, we are going to use a database, but just because this is just for testing purposes and for learning purposes, we are going to use just dummy data, right? So I'm going to create the first one so you see how it's created, and the rest I'm going to copy paste. We have 15 stories here, right? So data, you put in the ID, has to be unique, so it has to be unique to that specific object. So we have the story, and then we have the type. So the type is going to be a joke, right? And then the story is going to be rest in peace, boiling water, you will be missed, right? That is the story. Now we need to add the rest of the data. So that I'm just going to copy paste because of time again. I hope everyone is following. I know it gets heavy sometimes, but I'm going to make my code available for everyone who wants to visit it after. Okay, so we have all the data now, and then we go back to home fragment, right? So what do we do in home fragment? We want to start my story detail fragments. That is what we want to start, right? I'll tell you why we want to start that, because when we click it, we want it to move from that fragment to another fragment. So what we do here is just follow me on this one. This one is going to be a bit tricky, but if you follow me, what we want to do is when we click on tell me a joke button, we want you to go to the data, check if the type is a joke, and then pick from the jokes a random joke, right? So this is how we will program that. We're going to say variable, yes, my selected story data, we just give it a name, my selected story data, and then we're going to say, what do we say here? Let me think. Yes, okay. We're going to say the list of the data, right? List of data. Remember the list of the data? That is the data we have over here. That is the list of the data, right? So list of the data, and then we say filter when the type is a joke, right? Filter by type. We filter when the type is a joke. And then, so we say when the type is a joke, and then give me a random of it, right? Random. So now we have that over here, and then we say, okay, what we want to do, we want to start the story detail fragment. This is showing red because we've not created it yet, so we will create it now. Yes, over here, right? So we're gonna say private function starts my story detail, and then we put in my story detail, and then follow me on this one. We're gonna say parent support manager. We're gonna say commit. When we say commit is basically what we use in starting a new fragment. We're gonna say replace not, yes, replace the main for the frame layout. So it's going to be, I think, main container. Replace it with my story detail. Why do I keep getting the suggestion? So story detail fragment, new instance, right? But we'll get right into it. We will put in the type and the story, those we want to fetch, right? We want to fetch those two, and then commit. We're gonna say add. We're gonna say add to the back stack, so when you click on the back, you could still go back to it. Why is this showing red? Let's see why this is showing red. Can you tell us why you're showing red? Commit inline type with, okay, so maybe we're using the wrong commit. Let's see what is happening, why we cannot use this commit. Let's see why. Yes, so the commit I found out was the commit issue was basically an update with the Android Java version, which is an advanced thing, so we wouldn't be talking about that, but we just say a commit and then replace with the story detail fragment, and then we do the same. Yes, so we put this here, right? But if we could have a look, we are doing almost the same thing for 3 of them. We are going to repeat it for 3 of them. So what we could do is we could create a method over here, right? We could create a method that says, I'm going to copy paste that one also, that says get random story, which is going to take care of this part, right, where it says that tell me a joke. And then what we could do is we could just say get random story. We could take this whole part off and just say get random story, and then we could put in the joke, right? That is simpler. We could put in the joke. And then also we could say we could do the same for, we could copy paste. Let's copy paste. Copy paste is something that you do a lot in programming. Copy paste, boom, and then boom. But then you need to change this to love, and you need to change this to wise, right? You need to do that. So we are basically done with this, but we need to go to the story detail fragment, and then also create thing. Because of the time factor, I'm going to just create this part. So this is where when you click, it's going to show, and then move on to the main activity so we could finish that, right? So bear with me, sorry. So we are back to the main activity. Once again, I had to rush through this, so I'm really sorry. As I said, a code base. I just wanted to have you to have a feel of what the whole coding is about. I think I underestimated how much time this was going to take. So we're just going to finish up with the main activity, run the app, let you know how it looks like, and then after that, I'm just going to open up for questions, and maybe that will clear up a lot of things. So we created if you look on the left, we created the story detail fragment. We created an all code fragment, but we didn't fill in the data for the all code fragments yet. So we're just gonna keep it very simple here. So what we're gonna do is when we click on one of these, we want to open. When we click on the home icon, we want to open the home fragment, right? So first, let's create a variable here. That is what we call it. That says selected nav fragment, right? Selected nav fragment, which is going to be fragments. Rushing through this once again, and then we're going to say, okay, when you click on the nav home, assign the home fragment to the selected fragment. And when you click on all fragment, when you click on all codes, navigation all codes, assign the all codes fragments and open that, right? And then we come here and we do a start. We want to start the fragment. You remember that? Start navigation fragment. Yes, start navigation fragment. Why it shows red? Because we've not created it. So we create it over here. Boom. No, I think we don't create it here. We create it outside. Yes, we create it outside of this. Private start private function start navigation fragments. And then you remember what we did, how we started the fragment the last time. Manager, right? And then we do a commit, right? A commit, boom, 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 boom. And then we say, okay, selected fragment. That's the selected fragment. We say, okay, selected fragment, replace, right? Replace the main container with it. That is the fragment that is given, right? And then what we do over here is we return a true, right? We return a true. We need to move this one out of this bracket. Boom. We return a true here. Boom. And then over here, what we have to do also is navigation view dot selected. So we wanted to selected ID. When we open it, we want this to be selected by default. Navigation home, right? So yes, now we have it. We have our main activity with the navigation home, the home fragment open. So let's run the app and let's see what we have so far. Let's see what we have so far. Hope this works. Okay, we have an error. That is something that you meet a lot. So let me check out what the error is. So yes, this is what we have so far. We are going to run our app just to make sure it's working. And then boom, so we have this, right? Just the app that we showed before. Tell me a joke. Why did the gym close down? It just didn't work out. We go back. Tell me a love story. Come live in Manhattan, pay no rent. Tell me a quote. When we lose one blessing, another is often most unexpectedly given in its place. I know this was heavy, but as I said, I'm going to provide my code so everybody could have a look at it. And I think I'll end this session here on the code and then continue from where you could go from here. And yeah, that is it for today. Yes, so we are back again to the slides. And as I said before, programming in any language is a learning progress. You need to learn each and every single day something new. And you could do this basically by reading blogs from programmers. Programmers that are on a different level than you, on a higher level than you, because you are starting off, and then there are programmers who've been doing this for 20 years. And also, I'm going to give you where you could find some of these blogs, and also watch conferences from Google I/O. So Google I/O is basically every year Google organizes a conference for Android, and it's called Google I/O, and they talk about everything new that is being released in Android. Also, Google has documentations online. It's called developer.android. I'm going to also put the link in the next slide, whereby you could read on all the documentation on anything that you want to work on. Maybe you want to put in a button, you read all the documentations of what a button could do, of what a widget could do. A practice code lab. So Code Lab is also something provided by Google. So it's a workspace. You type Code Lab Android in Google, and it's a workspace whereby they have projects that you could work on. Also, what I think is one of the best ways to learn from the beginning is to sign up for some of these paid platforms like Lynda, like Treehouse. And I mean, if it's expensive for one person, I think you could get it yourself as a group and then pay off, because it's a monthly payment, and then share the pay so that everybody could get access to it. If we get maybe 3 or 4 people who want to learn, and these platforms have a plethora of information. It has to do with programming, designing, everything over there. So it's very helpful if you could get something like this. References and where to look. So just like on the slide before, for blogs, you could check out medium.com. These ones are going to be here. For Google I/O, I have the YouTube link here. For the documentations, for the Code Lab, and for also lynda.com. So I believe this session has been very helpful, maybe a bit confusing to some, which I would say when you go back again and watch this again, it will be very enlightening. And I hope their goal from the beginning, as I stated, for beginners to be able to venture into programming, and for those who have already started, to boost your morale to even do more, has been achieved. Once again, my name is Enock Fernandez, and I'm an Android programmer, and I would catch you later. Any questions so far could be asked, and we could discuss it. Thank you very much for having me today.